In his book, The Infancy of Jesus, Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI wrote about the gospel that we just heard. And he points out something that I agree is very, very striking. It is Mary's aloneness. Her aloneness in her entire life. The Pope wrote, "I consider it important to focus on the final sentence of Luke's Annunciation narrative. And the angel departed from her. The great hour of Mary's encounter with God's messenger, in which her whole life is changed, comes to an end, and she remains there alone with a task that truly surpasses all human capacity." It's kind of a haunting image when you stop and think of a young girl the age of 13, left there holding the weight of the world on her shoulders as she becomes the Mother of God. Can you imagine how frightened she must have felt? How frightened and utterly alone. It's compelling to think of this in the context of today's solemnity when we celebrate Mary's being conceived in her own mother's womb, the mother of Saint Anne, without any stain of sin, not even original sin. Again, Mary is alone. This singular woman, alone at the moment of the angel's visit, is also alone in history. There is no one else like her. In fact, in 1800 years after her earthly life ended, when she appeared to Bernadette at Lourdes, she said to her, "I am the Immaculate Conception." She didn't say to her, "I am an Immaculate Conception," but "I am the Immaculate Conception." No one else. No one else. And like no other, she devoted herself to God. Her whole life became a prayer. And we realize with a blinding clarity that Mary, a woman alone, was never really alone at all. The angel's words to her from today's gospel say it all. "Hail Mary, the Lord is with you." How often those words must have given Mary strength. How often those words must have given her hope in her life. And so they should for us too. On this day when we remember how she came into being and the uniqueness of her being, how she was and remains the Immaculate Conception, we remember too that she is our life, our sweetness, our hope. Mary is a figure for all time and for our time. She has been where we have been, and Mary continues to walk with us. How many of us haven't turned to our Blessed Mother with our rosary beads, or maybe just a simple Hail Mary, turning to her? She's the one facing an unexpected pregnancy. She is a teenager realizing that all her plans and dreams have suddenly changed after the angel announces to her that she's to be the Mother of God. Mary is that refugee seeking a sanctuary. She's the anxious mother searching for a missing child when he goes missing at the age of 12. She's the widow watching her son die a horrible and violent death as he's executed upon a cross. At any moment during her life, Mary may have felt a sense of her own isolation, that she was utterly, maybe even forgotten. But how many times did she find strength in this memory The Lord is with you. The Lord is with you. And how many times did she hear again and again in the face of overwhelming impossibility, nothing is impossible for God. And that, I think, is one of her great gifts to us. Because as we celebrate this feast of the Immaculate Conception of the Blessed Virgin Mary, the patronal feast of our own nation, Mary there is to encourage us to trust. She's there to encourage each and every one of us to trust. She's there to inspire us to hope, to offer us the faith-filled reassurance that our lives are not lived in isolation. To anyone here who maybe is feeling alone, maybe feeling lonely, and to all who might feel helpless or hopeless, to those of you who might be worried, to those of you who might be frightened about the future, Mary is here. The reassuring words to her, "Do not be afraid," are now her words to each and every one of us. This day, we remember Mary, and we ask her to remember us. Our faith assures us that she will. And despite how things seem, Mary was never entirely alone, and never are we. Don't forget, when you're afraid, when you're worried, when you're in trouble, whenever you need help, don't forget to turn to our Blessed Mother. She knew all of those feelings. She knew all of those concerns. But she knew she was never alone because the Lord was with her. And if she's never alone, neither will we be alone if we turn to her and ask for her help. Mary, pray for us.